Hey guys, first thing I wanted to look at is the kick and bass. I want to look at these together because they are intrinsically linked in the way that a lot of dance electronic music is these days. And I don't think synthwave is any different, so let's get straight in. Okay, first things first, let's just have a listen to what these things sound like by themselves. Just going to check I haven't got any mastering on because I'm running from the project that I used, the project file that I used. So let's just have a listen to this. So if you've watched the synthwave tech tips already, you'll know a little bit about kick drums that were used, and you'll know about bassline sounds, bassline patterns, and you'll probably recognize the bassline at least. But what I've done is I could have used a sample. So let's come into Sonic Academy's synthwave sample pack. But what I've actually done is for the kick drum, I've used Kick 2. And I've used a modified preset. The preset's called Sweet, and it was in the pop section. So in fact, let me just show you that kick first. Sweet. Right, so this is what I used to start with. Actually, this might be quite loud. Let me just turn it down. Yeah, so this is a very modern sounding kick. And if we actually look at synthwave kicks, it actually sounds a lot like that one, the Sweet preset. But these two in particular, this is the Lindrum and TR-505 style kick. But rather than go down that route, because when I received the vocals, I decided that this was going to be quite a fast, a slightly more modern take on synthwave with echoes of the Midnight sound. So we're using these two as a kind of reference, but obviously this Sweet preset is way more modern and punchy than that. And what I've actually done is I've turned it into this. So really it's just a case of messing with the click. So if we look at the, I don't know if I can get these both up at the same time. Yeah, so the click on the original preset, which is here, the Sweet preset, is pitched all the way down and it's very, very loud. And what I've done is I've pitched it back up again. This is where it was, and this is where I've taken it. And I've just taken the level right down. So we're at minus 20 dB, something like that. And that's where it was in the original preset. But you just don't need that level of click in these synthwave kicks. And if we look at the amp envelope on the original kick, so we're running at 478 milliseconds, and the pitch envelope is quite tight here. And I've loosened the pitch envelope off a little bit. It's still at 478, but I've rounded this amp envelope off on the adjusted kick. So it's giving us a kick that's a little bit more like the ones that were used in the 80s. We don't have to be a slave to that 80s sound. But you don't want a modern, thick, punchy, super punchy kick in this kind of track, I don't think. So that's what I've done with the kick. In terms of pattern, 1, 2, let's run it with the click track. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's running on eighth notes. Sorry, it's running on half notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting 2 beats, 2 kicks per bar. And what you would traditionally run with on electronic music is move down. You get those quarter notes, but we're not doing that. We're running the kick at half the speed, and that's playing off against the snare. And then in this last section here, bap, bap. So we've got a little 16th note frill at the end there to give it some interest. And that happens every 2 bars. So running against the bass line, So generally speaking, as we've looked at in the synthwave tech tips, you can run 8th notes rolling bass line or 16th notes rolling bass line. For this track, I felt that 8th notes was working better. Now, you don't have to do these rolling bass lines, but they're so popular and so common. And I felt that with the feel of this track, it kind of worked. This 8th note rolling bass line worked with this. Now, this track at the top here called SC, that's my sidechain track. Usually I would use LFO tool, but what I've tried to do is, as I've probably already mentioned, is keep this Ableton native as much as possible so that you guys can download the project and just follow along. So what I see, you'll see. I don't have to render out parts. You don't have to kind of use audio. You can just look at exactly what I've done. So the sidechain channel here is just a simple instance of, where are we? Kick 2. And I've just got a very, very short kick running here. A very short clicky kick to use as my trigger. So that's almost irrelevant. We don't need to look at that channel anymore. But in terms of processing on the kick, I'm going to go through the processing channel by channel because I don't do a lot of processing. You've probably noticed that already, guys. I'm not really into complicated processing. It hurts my head. So I tend not to do it. So all I've got on the kick channel itself is a little bit of EQ. I'm taking out the very, very low end, below 30 hertz. And I've got a bit of a dip at 330. And that's at the very top end of what you might call boxy. That range between 100 and 300 is where you get that really kind of, it's a frequency range that can really mess up with a mix and make a mix sound really muddy. In fact, I'd say 330 is probably more muddy than boxy. Boxy's slightly lower. But let's have a listen to that in isolation.